Well, welcome everybody to the latest episode of the In the Flat podcast. I'm your host Tony Kill, joined again this week, Jordan Schultz and Jess Saban. So this week we're going to talk about the latest results of the college football playoffs, which is probably the best playoff games college football has had. Preview TCU and Georgia, the championship game. Talk the latest with Hover Bowls, transfer portal, NFL draft, and everything else in between. So let's dive on in. So first, we'll start with news. Obviously, it's that time of year, so Jim Harbaugh is being rumored to go to NFL teams again. So, the rumor is if he's offered a job, just like it was last year, he will take it. And some of the jobs that are supposedly potentially going after him are the Colts, the Broncos, and Carolina. So, if you were Jim Harbaugh, would you take this job? Would you take an NFL job if it was offered, or would you try to finish a deal there in Michigan? So, I'll start with you, Jess. What do you think? What should Jim Harbaugh do here?
It's a tough one. I mean, Michigan, he's had a very up and down tenure at Michigan. I remember when everyone was talking about how he shouldn't leave, they should fire him. That was just a couple of years ago when he couldn't really get over the hump against an Ohio State and struggled against Michigan State. But now clearly he's figured out something that works. But it feels like he just hasn't gotten the quarterback right. That one final piece to get them over the top. So I mean, if the offer is too good to pass up, I'd say go to the NFL. I know allegedly the Panthers, I think, are expected to if they haven't already. Obviously, you got teams like the Broncos. The Chargers could be an interesting spot depending on how Staley does in their first playoff go, but I think he's going to have a tough time leaving Michigan. I mean, they are so close. I mean, that was a heck of a game against TCU, and one thing changes and they don't kind of get robbed of that touchdown, then they that fumble on the 1 yard line. We could be talking about them versus Georgia right now. So I think
Good.
he should stay, but I think a team is going to make him an offer he can't refuse to go back to the NFL.
Very true. The one thing is though, he has lost his 7 bowl games in a row now with Michigan. He seems like they can't quite get over that hump. I mean, if would that be leave a sour taste in his mouth to try to leave now, or you want to try to get over that hump? What I have heard is the Colts might be the one to make the best offer because I think as a professional, he played there. He knows the owner and Jim Irsay. Would it be a long, drawn out process? It would it be a big interviewing type thing? They know each other well. It could be just the offer and he'll take it, that kind of thing. But you never know what the Colts are going to do. They're a really crazy team. So, Jordan, any thoughts on this topic?
No, I mean last year it was the same thing. He went to interview with the Vikings, and the Vikings didn't offer him on the spot, so I don't think that's why we saw him again. But I think it's different this year. I think there's too many coaching openings right now that if you don't jump on someone right when you interview him, you're not going to get that guy.
Yep.
So I definitely think he's going to get an offer from the Panthers. He's going to get an offer from the Colts right away, and I don't think he's going to say no this time. I think he's going to take it. I think right now is the perfect time for him to, because there's so many openings in the NFL. You got Denver, Colts, Carolina. Like you said, the Chargers might. What I don't even know what the Raiders might do at this point with their coach. I know it's only been 1 year, but you don't know. So, and there's many opportunities right now of like a lot of things happening, and I think we definitely will see Jim Harbaugh in the NFL next year. Someone's going to offer him up here soon. Like I said, it's right away. If he gets offered right when he interviews, he's going to say yes because that's what he wanted last year, and I think that's what he's going to get this year.
No, I agree. So, it's kind of toss up for me if I think he's going to go or not. I think if he has the right job opportunity, like Minnesota was the right opportunity because you had all the ingredients to win. Some of these teams, like the Colts and the Panthers, are going to be harder to win at. And how much control is he going to be given to find the right players? That he got a lot of issues in the NFL last time because him in the front office kind of clashed. So I think he's going to want to find a place that he trusts that won't be an issue. So we'll see if he finds that perfect opportunity this time. All right. Next up, let's talk about some of the bowl games. We're not going to go into every bowl game. Let's talk about before I jump into the playoff games. Let's talk about 6 of the bigger bowls that have occurred. So let's talk about the Rose Bowl that happened yesterday. Penn State beat Utah 35-21. They used a strong second half and took advantage of Cam Rising getting hurt in the first quarter. The power pass to Utes 35-21. I believe it was 14-14 when Cam Rising got hurt, and Utah really just could never recover from that. This is the second Rose Bowl win in program history for Penn State, and it's first. It's 1995, so they haven't been here in a while, but they got that nice victory here. And this win was led by Nittany Lions quarterback Sean Clifford, who capped off a lengthy and successful career. I feel like he was there for 15 years, but he had probably his best game. 16 for 22 for 279 and a pair of touchdowns while seeming to be firing accurate passes all night. So, good job there for Sean Clifford, and a good win for Penn State. So, you, Jordan, any thoughts here on Penn State, or how are you thinking they're going to do kind of going into next year?
I think if they can find that quarterback, especially for next year, that quarterback can be consistent all year, they're going to be right where they are right now, maybe even better. But for this game, their second half, like you said, they came out second half and firing. I'm pretty sure Penn State has the 2 longest drives in Rose Bowl history, with their 3-play 95-yard for a touchdown and 3-play 94 yards for a touchdown. I definitely think Sean Clifford was clicking on all cylinders this game. And I think if Cam Rising didn't get hurt, I think it would have been a lot closer. But I think Penn State's offense, second half, was doing whatever they wanted against Utah. And it shows that Utah is more, if they don't have Cam Rising, they have no one. And I think it's a big win for Penn State, and I think it's a big win for their head coach as well, being on the hot seat and all that. So, big win for Penn State, and I feel bad for Utah, second year in a row where they came this far and fell short.
Yeah, no, yeah, the same thing happened last year. Cam Rising got hurt last year, if I recall. They seem to have these issues in this final game, which is it's a shame, because Utah had a really good year, so they ended up losing again in the championship game. So, any final thoughts on this one, Jess?
You guys covered it pretty well. I mean, Cam Rising, I think he was like 8 for 21, a touchdown, an interception. I don't think he even reached 100 yards, so he wasn't having his best game, but it's hard to think that, any team really, that in as big of a game as that, I mean, unless you're Alabama, in which case you can go from Hurts to Tua, your starter goes down, you're going to have a hard time catching any level of momentum, being able to truly stay competitive, especially when you're going up against a very good team like Penn State is. So, hats off to the Nittany Lions, and, hopefully for Utah, they can kind of try and get back here next year. But for right now, Penn State, I think they were just the better team yesterday, whether Rising stayed in or not. But I think it would have been much more competitive had he not gotten injured. But I think Penn State was winning that game regardless.
Yeah, you look at their season. I don't know how you think about it as a Penn State fan. They lost to Ohio State and Michigan. They won all their ever games. So
that's how they've been these past how many years now? It's just the third best team in the Big Ten. Just beat everyone else, lose to Ohio State, Michigan, get into a high-end bowl, and see how you do. It's just and it's interesting because this year they probably would have got to the Rose Bowl, but both Michigan and Ohio State both got to the playoffs. So they kind of snuck it to the Rose Bowl that way. So next year, to have the new Drew Allard, their quarterback, I'm interested to see what he could do to this offense and see what they could do against Ohio State and Michigan next year. All right, let's talk about probably one of the craziest bowl games of the year, and that was the Cotton Bowl, where Tulane beat USC 46-45. So USC was up 45-30 with 4 minutes to go. Utah scored a touchdown really quick, went down the field in a matter of seconds. USC fumbled a punt out of bounds at the 1-yard line, so terrible special teams there. That followed with Tulane getting a safety. Then they got the ball, drove the entire length of the field to win by 1 point in the final seconds. So crazy finish. I mean, Tulane has played their heart out there and got the win. So Jess, anything surprising in this one? I mean, you know me. I've been pretty high on USC, and Caleb Williams all year. I didn't quite think they were a playoff team for most of the year. Then they kind of were just there, like because of all of the Pac-12 teams at the time. They were the highest rated one, and then they lost to Utah. But I mean, it just felt like it was a two-man show. It was Tyjae Spears, the Tulane running back, versus Caleb Williams, and I mean, barring one mistake at the very end there that led to that safety, I think USC wins this game. But at the end of the day, you can't make those mistakes. But I mean, this is once we kind of got to like the big New Year's bowls, and we got the playoffs and everything. So many of these games, it was just like teams forgot that defense is a thing. Like, I mean, both the playoff games, this one, LSU just, I don't even know if Purdue actually even played that game. But we've had so many super high scoring games, so entertaining, and this has been a good bowl season so far for college football fans.
No, for
Unless you
sure.
like defense.
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like we're watching a bunch of Big 12 games for the past. So, all right, Jordan, anything to add on this one?
No, just that USC, the mistakes they made were in crucial points. Second half, they missed a field goal. You got in the first half, they threw an interception that led to a Tulane touchdown. Those mistakes really show you, or mistakes put a Georgia, Alabama team in the last couple of years in front and show you what you need to do. These mistakes kill you, especially with a Tulane team. We saw that second half that can put up numbers. All year they put up numbers. So I just think with that, those mistakes, costly mistakes that happen and pivotal points of your game, really show that USC, especially defensively, is not 100% there. And I don't know if they will be next year. Just because not a lot of people, you want to go, a lot of defensive players transfer, but they're not going to want to go to USC because their offense is everything for them. So I just don't think USC is going to be at that point next year in my eyes, unless they get that defense together. Especially when you think, if you looked at ESPN and their, probability of winning, it was USC all game. Until the end where Tulane was up by 1.
Yeah, that was the first lead of the game for Tulane. Final 7 seconds. So it's crazy. Yeah, and this is the same thing we talked about in the preseason. Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma's issue where they focused everything on offense and let the defense kind of do their own thing, which has not been working. He really needs to focus on defense if he's ever going to become a national championship level coach. And I think first he needs to fire the defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch. He just hasn't been good in Oklahoma or in USC. And they need some more discipline back there and really kind of build that team up. I am worried a little bit about them next year. I think it's going to be Kalen Williams or bust next year. The offensive linemen, they lost a couple to the NFL draft. So they're already just decent. Offensive line is going to become worse. Their defense is going to be not great. I mean, it's going to be a struggle, I think, next year. There'll be able to beat a lot of Pac-12 teams, but some of these games out of conference might be a little difficult for them. All right. Well, we'll kind of go through this one really quick. LSU, 63. My poor Purdue team, 7. This was really a gutted Purdue team. They were out their head coach, their quarterback, and some key players. I mean, it's just one of those things with bowl season. So any thoughts from either of you guys on this destruction of LSU, Purdue over by LSU?
No, if you just look at the box score, though, it's kind of funny. 4 different people passed on LSU. But then you also have 4 different people passed on Purdue. It's just kind of funny to see these games. LSU could put their freshmen in. Purdue could put their 6th-string center in. I don't know. I feel like you said, Purdue was gutted. Didn't have a quarterback. A lot of transfers. Just no head coach. I think the team was just all over the place. And it did not look well. I think the bowl game. I hopefully recruits and everything don't look at this bowl game as the end all for Purdue, and look at their season and how I know they were kind of inconsistent, but just look at that and not this 63-7 loss. I feel
Yeah,
bad for Purdue.
I think they won't because, I mean, obviously they have a new head coach that had nothing to do with this game. And I think really this is one of those situations where if you're Purdue, you almost should have said, no, we don't want to play in a bowl. This because you put your team in a really bad situation here. But, it's bowl season, so it is what it is, I guess. All right, let's talk about the ReliaQuest Bowl. This was a pretty cool game of Mississippi State beating Illinois 19-10. That they won. This is Mississippi State's first game since the unexpected death of Coach Mike Leach. They came back from early deficit to beat Illinois 19-10, and they did take the lead until there were 4 seconds left in the game. And then there was that crazy play at the end where they tried to laddered it around, and Mississippi State got it, scored a touchdown. So this is not great if you were betting on this game, as it was it was a 3.5 point spread, and they scored that to win this game by 9. So probably lost some people some money there, but cool. They had the helmet with the pirate flag for Mike Leach on it and everything. So pretty cool scene there. Any thoughts there from you guys on this one?
I mean, it was good to see them get the win it for their coach. Not much to say about the game itself.
It's a pretty ugly game, honestly. So,
I mean, I certainly hope if you did bet on it, you bet the under. But some solid play from Mississippi State's running game. They had a total of 20 carries, but 2 people who carried the ball averaged at least 5 yards a carry. One of them averaged 9.7. Illinois had a seemingly statistically inefficient passing game, but kind of feel bad for Illinois there, kind of losing. You never, as a team, obviously, and as a fan, you hate seeing you lose at the last second like that. But it's Mississippi State. They got the win for their coach, and as sad as the circumstances are, I guess it's some silver lining there for them and their families.
No, for sure. It was cool seeing them win. I feel bad for Illinois. Probably nobody was going for them to win this game, but it was cool for the players to kind of have that flag of the pirate flag out, running around with the crowd and stuff. So it's a cool scene. So, any final closing thoughts, Jordan?
No, yeah, and I think it's the same thing. This bowl game's so just you don't want to play in it. It's like whatever. So Illinois was gutted. They didn't have their top running back. Mississippi State was gutted as well. It just there's a lot. For Mississippi State, you lost their head coach. Do you really want to play? In this bowl game. I know you got that. Everybody has that mindset where it's like, oh, we got to play this game for our coach, but it's like. I mean, it doesn't feel right for all these players. Will Rogers, was with him. Started for those 3 years. He's like another father figure to him, and you're gonna play this game without him on the sideline, without him telling you good job, without him being there. So it just I don't know. I feel like this bowl game. It's great to see them win. It's great to see them play, but it's like all these players are like our coach is gone. Do we really want to play in this bowl game without him?
And this one in particular, they all said they wanted to play for Coach Leach in this game.
I know, but it's still like mentality wise when you're on the field. Yeah, you say you want to play, but then now you're over here playing the game. And you look on the sideline, you're like, never mind. You get that feeling.
It's definitely gonna be an emotional game. I mean, just think about it. You've been, to your point, Will Rogers has been here this whole time with him, and he's used to doing things a certain way, and then he looks over and he's not there. That's gotta be tough, man.
But I also think it's a good sign, for both teams. Going into next year, Illinois had a better passing attack. Illinois' defense was, played really well. Mississippi State, has to get over that hump, and I think that's a good thing with playing this game and getting over that first game hump without Mike Leach being there.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, we have 2 more games to hit before the playoffs, so I'll just kind of go over these quickly and then give your thoughts on them. First, the Orange Bowl, Tennessee beat Clemson 31-14. Really, Tennessee kind of controlled this from start to finish. Joe Milton making his second start since the season-ending injury to Hendon Hooker. Did pretty well. He completed 19 28 passes for 251 yards and 3 touchdowns with some good long passes. This was also the first start for Cade Klubnik. He ended up going 30 or 54 for 320 yards and 2 interceptions. At times, he looked overwhelmed, which I guess you would expect from a freshman there. So, yeah, interesting to see him out there. They'll get some reps, but they got to fix that offense going into next year. I don't know if it's the player. It's got to be some development that needs to happen there. And then we'll talk about the Gator Bowl. Then you guys give me your thoughts on both these games. But Notre Dame won the Gator Bowl 45-38 over South Carolina. This was a interesting game where South Carolina just threw everything plus a get you sink with a bunch of gadget plays and fake punts and fake field goals. You name it, they tried it out there. They got up 21-7 on Notre Dame. Notre Dame came back. This was also Tyler Buckner's first start since being injured in week 2. He threw for 274 yards, ran for 61, had 5 touchdowns, but also had 3 interceptions. So that's kind of inconsistency that he kind of brought there. So yeah, again, it was a tough fought game that Notre Dame ended up winning at the end. They won the line of scrimmage that South Carolina really couldn't keep up with. So good victory there for the Irish to end the season. So, you, Jess, any thoughts on these 2 games?
I mean, I was shocked at how well Tennessee did in the Orange Bowl. I mean, no Hooker, no Hyatt, no Tillman.
No problem.
I forget. Yeah, no problem. Apparently, I mean, I honestly thought Clemson borderline might roll Tennessee. Like, maybe Tennessee could keep it interesting, but I thought. I mean, I guess. I forget if Clemson, how many players they had opt out of the game, because I know they're sending a bunch of, particularly on defense, to the draft. But I just thought Clemson would be deeper, I guess. But yeah, like I said, no problem for Tennessee. And it'll be interesting because they've got the 5-star quarterback coming in. Tennessee, but Milton showed flashes of being. I saw some people saying that he could possibly be the answer for the next couple of years or so, maybe even get to the draft. So it'll be interesting to see Tennessee going forward. As for Notre Dame, as you guys know, I've never doubted Notre Dame once. I had full faith in them to win that game. I mean, in last week's pod, Jordan convinced me to go with them to roll with Notre Dame. I was hesitant, and clearly my hesitancy was warranted. But at the end of the day, Notre Dame showed to be the more talented team, and they were able to pull it out. And hail to the Irish, they got it done.
Yep. Yeah, this was another game where there was a lot of opt-outs on both sides. I mean, Michael Mayer and Foskey for Notre Dame were out, and their quarterback was out that started all year. South Carolina was missing all their tight ends, basically, and then their running back and a couple defensive players. So it wasn't the true teams that you saw throughout the year, I will say. So it's always hard to make these calls in these games. But Jordan, any thoughts from you on these 2 games?
I just read on Twitter, not really, but Clemson is taking away their orange because they lost against Tennessee, who's orange, but also in the Orange Bowl. So Clemson might change their colors a little bit, maybe a little different orange.
They're gonna go to yellow.
Oh, that's disgusting.
I
know. No, but I feel like everyone thought Cade was going to come in and dominate because of what we saw DJ do all year. But Cade did not look good. Yeah, he's a freshman, but I mean, against a Tennessee defense that is not really that great all around. Even they have glimpses, but I just don't think Cade's going to be the answer for them next year. I don't think he's. I think you would want to see, especially a quarterback that sat all year behind someone, come in and have some glimpses of hope that you'll see next year. And I don't think Cade had that all game. It did not look right, and I don't know if it's development at Clemson or what it is, but Big win for Tennessee, and I think it's going to roll on to next year for them. And I think it's going to be a weird situation quarterback wise for them. But for Notre Dame, the Irish pulled this one out. I think Buckner. I don't know what I feel about him. He cannot pass the ball. But honestly, with all the rumors of Sam Hartman coming, I can see him being a wildcat. I can see him being something. They might use him with something.
Hey, goal line stand. I mean, he can get you 5 to 6 yards pretty easily. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And he can throw the ball sort of. So even putting him in as wildcat, he can throw the ball.
Well, he can throw the ball. I think on a deep route, he can throw the ball. It's just that even when it's just so ugly seeing it. Those shorter passes. Usually you have that little touch and it goes right to. I mean, he's like throwing it hard at him. The shorter passes. I just feel like he needs some more touch in his passes, and I don't know if he can get there. It's hard to teach that if you don't have it. But yeah, I'm interested to see Sam Hartman and him how they work that out because it would be good to kind of mix that up and give you a different look every once in a while. Even maybe using him more of like him and Sam Hartman together, where have him in the backfield as almost a running back or tight end.
Oh yeah, because he's got that. He's definitely got that speed. But also, just for Notre Dame, the running backs, Diggs and Estime, they played great. I think that's a good sign. I mean, remember last year we saw that the bowl game, they could not run the ball at all. Also, I just want to, Michael Mayer didn't play this game, but, his, backup, Mitchell Evans, he had some, good catches, and I think he's going to be, not as great as Michael Mayer, but he's going to be that tight end that's, going to be consistent for him and put up those numbers, and be that new Michael Mayer, but no one can replace Michael Mayer because, he's the best tight end, even though he didn't get the award, but he's the all-American tight end.
All I'm saying is he was playing for Georgia. He would have had like 100 yards against Ohio State, but, whatever. Speaking of that game, let's talk about the playoffs. So I'll go through both of these games, then you guys give me your thoughts on it. So we'll start with the Peach Bowl. Man, this was a crazy game. I was in a house full of Ohio State fans, and we were watching this game, and I don't know why they do these games on New Year's Eve. It just doesn't make sense to me because, I want to watch the ball drop at midnight, but here we are trying to watch a field goal, whether it goes in or not.
Once the field goal missed, it was midnight, so you're fine.
It was like he kicked it from 2022 to 2023.
Exactly at midnight.
I mean, that's just crazy. I just think they need to avoid this in the future. It's hard. Like, I know there's probably a lot of mad fans out there, like, that have to watch this game while New Year's Eve is going on. So, but it is what it is. But this game was crazy. I will say, Ohio State led throughout. I mean, they started off really strong, and their offense was going well. Their defense was playing well. Stetson Bennett was not playing well. They led 38-24 early in the fourth quarter. They had a chance to retake a 2-possession lead under 4 minutes to go, but the Bulldogs' defense finally made a huge stand to kind of settle it to a field goal. George Stetson Bennett kind of led them down the field for a drive with 54 seconds to give them the lead. Ohio State had 2 timeouts, drove the field, and obviously they missed that 50-yard or so field goal wide left to lose this game. So, excruciating game if you're an Ohio State fan. I know Michigan fans were probably not feeling very well after losing and then having to watch this game. So, yeah, definitely a really great game, though. This is not one of those blowout playoff games that we are accustomed to seeing. So, it was a great game there. And speaking of great games, the Fiesta Bowl, TCU beat Michigan 51-45. TCU just came out on fire, getting up to a big lead. I think, what was it, 21-3, then 21-9?
21-6.
21-6. They were leading pretty well. Then Michigan made their comeback. It would have been one of the bigger comebacks in the bowl history. And I think it was the highest score in Fiesta Bowl dating back to 1971. TCU led by, like I mentioned, it matches 18 points in the first half, 21-6 lead in halftime, and then they held off Michigan in the second half. Really, the story of this one is Michigan's defense could not stop TCU. TCU broke a lot of long runs in this game, a lot of long after the catch, plays, and they did enough on defense to stop Michigan with a couple pick sixes of J.J. McCarthy to get them this win here. So the underdog prevails, and they're going on to play Georgia. So that being said, Jordan, what do you think of these 2 games, or what stood out to you?
I mean, that Ohio State Georgia game was insane. I think it kind of showed where we've seen the weakness of Georgia's defense, and that is the pass game right now. Super weak, gives up a bunch of yards, and I think that's really what made this game close. Is C.J. Stroud had great passes and could complete the balls really easily and was having a good game. I think this was one of the better games for C.J. Stroud this year, just in a big light, on that front stage. Just one thing I want to point out, this is the weird thing. C.J. Stroud threw for 23 for 34. Stetson Bennett also did 23 for 34. So just to throw that out there. But, big win for Georgia, and I think watching the ball drop at the same time, I saw all the videos going around with that all added to the great feeling of Ohio State losing and everything. So it was just a good game to watch, and I think I think it was probably one of the best bowl games, also college football playoff games we'll see. But for TCU, that's a big win. I think TCU just came out hard early. Yeah, it was close to Michigan coming back, but TCU kept it in. They that's the good thing about leading the first, having a good first half, and you can have a not great second half, but hold the team off and you still win. Like we say, everybody says all year, a win is a win, no matter how close. And this was a dominant performance by TCU all year. The sad thing again, I said it earlier in the podcast about another quarterback, or about Clemson. I don't know if Michigan has their quarterback. J.J. McCarthy is not that. I don't think he's going to be that guy next year, and I think that's going to be, the biggest downfall in Michigan. They don't have that quarterback, and their run game is the only thing that holds them to anything. And I think if they had Blake Corum this game, it would be a different story, and we would talk about Michigan again. But big win for TCU, and I'm excited to see someone different in that college football playoff championship game.
No, for sure. And I think the thing with J.J. McCarthy is he's so cocky, talking about and how they're going to. I think I read somewhere they're going to steamroll TCU. I think they overlooked TCU. I don't think they knew enough about TCU here. I don't know if it's coaching or if it's just, maybe that over-top swagger that they had. I think they really just overlooked TCU, and I think that came back to bite them because TCU wanted this game more right at the bat, and they weren't scared of Michigan at all. So it was interesting to see. What are your thoughts on the games, Jess?
I mean, first of all, if they didn't know enough about TCU, then that has to be a coaching issue. I mean,
and I read somewhere they didn't know where TCU was. Like, they didn't know what conference they're from, and they didn't know who they were.
Like, that would not be a good look. I mean, they had how long to prepare? I mean, Michigan's defense could not stop a nosebleed. Like, it felt like every time they got back in it, TCU was able to just put it out of reach once again. And I was in a bar watching the game with some friends out, New Year's Eve. We made sure to go to sports bars for most of the night just because we knew they'd have the games on. And it felt like, particularly in the second half there, the third quarter, it's like, I turned away and I turned back, another touchdown. Turned away, turned back, another touchdown. And it was a fireworks show. I mean, it was a great game to watch, but I mean, for Michigan, who's supposed to have a decent defense, again, you expect these kind of games when TCU plays Oklahoma, because neither team's allowed to have a defense. It's the Big 12. But Michigan, I mean, the Big 10's supposed to have teams that are tough and can, defend anybody. That's how they're supposed to be able to play, and that was not the case. As for Ohio State, Georgia, honestly, I was surprised at how close that game was. I thought Ohio State was going to be able to put up some points. I mean, they have too much talent offensively not to, even without Jackson Smith and Njigba. But I thought Georgia's defense was going to hold them in check for the most part. Clearly that wasn't the case, and I feel so bad for Noah Ruggles, I think his name is, the kicker for Ohio State,
Yeah,
to have that happen
you get like
in
deference
that
and stuff here.
way
That's
on
ridiculous.
that stage as the clock strikes midnight. It was like the magic's gone in that moment as the clock hit midnight. But I mean, it's Ohio State. They're like Alabama. They don't rebuild, they reload. They're gonna have a whole bunch of these new 5 stars come in. They're gonna be in the same area competing next year. So Ohio State fans, I know it's a rough one, but you'll be back, especially since they're expanding the playoffs. Teams like Ohio State, Alabama, I don't know if they're ever going to miss the the playoff again. But I mean, Marvin Harrison was eating them alive in the first half. He had like, what was it, 8 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, or something crazy in the first half. And then there was that controversial hit about in the back of the end zone.
I didn't think it was targeting, but that's just me.
I didn't think it was. I mean, when it happened really fast in the moment, I thought it was. Then they showed the replay, and I didn't think it was targeting.
It's just a football play. I mean,
yeah.
He did.
Hey, you can't
He didn't
complain
lead
about a
with the
football
helmet.
play.
It's just a hard hit. I don't know. That's just me. What do you think, Jordan? You think
I
that was targeting?
No, I don't think so. But I think the biggest thing everybody's talking about is he was in the air before he hit him. Like he jumped.
Did he go too soon? Did he hit him too soon?
No. Like you're not supposed to leap into a tackle. That's the other big thing with targeting. So you can't leave the ground before you hit the guy. Really, that's what also encompasses targeting. So because it was close to his head, and he leaped off the ground before contact, that's
I
the other
honestly
reason.
think there's just not a consistency with the rule because I watched that Tulane USC game and it was clearly helmet to helmet contact, and they said no, he didn't lead with the helmet. And I'm just like, listen, if you get hit hard, head to helmet, it's targeting. I don't care what you were doing to get there, that's targeting. But if you weren't, and it was just a hard play, and it was just a hard hit, then it shouldn't be targeting. But I don't know. I think there's just a lot of interpretations of the rule.
So on a lighter note, if you would like a little laugh, if you go to the TCU's Twitter page and their pinned tweet is amazing. So just so you know, just go to their pinned tweet on Twitter, TCU football, and you will. I don't know if you might have. I don't know what you might have. You might feel like you're on drugs. It's such a weird video, but it's great. So just so you know.
Okay. Everybody, check that out. TCU give us money for that free promotion. All right. All right, let's talk about this game really quick. I know we're running close to time here, but TCU Georgia obviously will be playing in the national championship game next Monday at SoFi in California. It's a long flight there for Georgia, but I think they'll be okay with it. So Bulldogs are looking to repeat for the first time since Alabama did a trick in 2011, 2012. And it's set for 7:30 p.m. Eastern time next Monday. Obviously, Georgia has one of the best defenses, but they gave up a lot of points in this last game to a really good Ohio State team. They are hopeful that tight end Darnell Washington will play, and hopefully that linebacker Chase Chambliss will play. But both are kind of in a questionable mode right now. For TCU, their running back Kendrick Miller didn't really play much in that game against Michigan. He's questionable for this game as well. Obviously, you're led by Max Duggan, who played really well in that game. Who really put this team on his back. So, just quick predictions here and score. Jess, who you got winning this game, and what's the score?
I think that Michigan is going to win this game, and I think it's going to be
Michigan.
Not Michigan, Georgia. Michigan's not winning.
If Michigan wins this game, I'm gonna be really shocked.
Michigan is gonna find a way. Have faith in Harbaugh. Georgia's gonna win this game, 35-24.
35-24. Jordan, who you got? What score?
I have Georgia. I want to pick TCU. I really do, but I definitely think Georgia is a better team than Michigan, and defensively at least. I know we saw Ohio State put up but Georgia has a better defense than Michigan. So I think it's gonna be a lot closer than you'd think. But I got Georgia by a touchdown or a field goal. I also just want to put out there that good ups to college football and moving the kickoff time to 7:30 Eastern time, so that it's not midnight for us when we watch this game.
Yeah, and they did do that for the game on New Year's Eve. So
I mean, I would also be rooting for TCU. I don't think they got. I mean, Ohio State has offensive firepower, and TCU's got some. I don't think they got.
Jess will be rooting for Rutgers.
Rutgers will find a way to win this game.
They will. They will. For me, I think TCU has the best quarterback on the field, and that's Max Duggan. I think he should have won the Heisman over Caleb Williams for performances like he did. Oh, I know, just give me a face, but Caleb Williams out there losing to the lane. So I get out of here with his performance.
400 plus passing yards, 5 touchdowns.
If you're gonna put F the ever team on your fingernails, you need to go out there and win the game. Okay, Max Duggan go out there. He lays it all on the line. He has no. Caleb Williams has all these 5-star transfers that they pull in. Max Duggan has all these guys off the street, and he's out here winning winning the game.
I definitely I think he should
won in this upcoming draft.
Just one play should have made him win the Heisman. That scoring drive, the last play of that scoring drive against Kansas State, and he literally couldn't breathe. You saw him getting carried by his team, and he went back in and scored the game-tying 2-point conversion.
Then they lost.
It doesn't matter.
It's not his fault, though.
It's not.
Hey, I don't care what you're going to say about Caleb Williams.
I just want to say
discussion. We're talking about playoff teams here, okay?
Yeah, okay. So more wins, a scoreboard. That's all we got to talk about here.
He beat Kansas State the first time on his back, and he couldn't do it because all his wide receivers were injured in that second game.
This is more about USC than Caleb Williams, but we're not going to get into that.
It's okay. Can we just look at the players USC has and the players Max Duggan has?
Exactly is what I'm saying. He does more with less than Caleb Williams does. So there you go. And he's not getting paid millions of dollars to do it. So, all right. So for me, I think I got. Oh man, I really want to say TCU is going to win this game. But I think it's going to be 30.
Nope. You're going to jinx it. Say it.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go on the line here. Go ahead. Don't put this on it. Don't go bet on this, especially those in Ohio and not have access to do this. Do not bet on TCU. But I think TCU finds a way to get this done. 31-28. Max Duggan, game-tying drive, game-winning field goal. They go out to champions. Max Duggan does it all. We can rub that in Justice Face next week with and Max Duggan appreciation podcast.
It definitely is okay if you bet the spread for TCU.
15. 15.
They're going to cover it. 12 and a half. 12 and a half.
Drop. It was 15 and a half.
They're going to cover. So if you want to bet, you can bet that spread. TCU is going to cover.
They will. I agree. Right, Jess? Do you agree? They're going to cover?
Well, I had Georgia winning by 11, so yeah, they did.
The cover. Okay. All right. Here first, folks. They will cover. So bet all.
And if we're wrong,
savings they're going to cover.
If we're wrong, Jess's Twitter handle is in our bio on Twitter. So every complaint you have, Jess Saban on Twitter, at Jess_Saban. Hit him up.
Take it up with him. He's our
He's our HR.
I'll be happy to talk.
He's our public relations. He'll take care of all your concerns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard he'll also send you money if you do lose
it. Replace your life savings if you lose it. So just talk.
It's okay.
All right.
I'm putting a good $22,000 on this game that TCU covers. So yeah, I can afford to reimburse people.
All right, there you go.
That's a good idea. I'm about to do that too.
Everything you got. All in.
Mortgage the house. I'm gonna put it all on there, and we'll see what happens. All right. We were going to go over some of the rankings, but we're getting close on time here. So before we wrap this up, pass over to you guys. Is there any draft declarations or transfer portal updates that you guys want to mention before we go ahead and sign this one off here?
Just the Alabama losing, Bryce Young and Will Anderson.
Yeah, but everyone knew that one. Everyone knew that. I mean, Bryce Young's probably going to Houston, and then it'll be interesting to see if Will Anderson's picked 2 or 3 behind behind or just ahead of Jalen Carter out of Georgia. But yeah, no, I don't think there's been any big announcements. Any shocking other than the Keyshawn Boutte scandal out of LSU. Have you guys heard about this?
Yes.
I read about that.
Are we allowed to go into the details?
No,
on
we're
this?
not allowed to go into the details. This is a family
This is a
podcast.
family
No,
podcast,
just
yes,
know.
okay. Our
Just know,
R-rated
Keyshawn Boutte
In the Flat
originally
podcast coming soon.
Yeah. the rated R version.
Yes.
Keyshawn Boutte, for those who don't know, actually announced that he was coming back to LSU for the 2023-2024 season. However, he then mysteriously wasn't allowed. He wasn't playing in the bowl game, and it was announced that they actually asked him, or not announced. It was rumored that he was asked to just declare for the draft. We don't want you here at LSU anymore. They thought it'd be in his best interest because
He
if
took a train right out of
what
town.
was suspected.
If you want to know what happened, you can
Tony.
Google it yourself.
Look it up online. Just type his name in and Google. You'll see some.
And if you are scarred for life,
It's
remember at Jess_7. Saban.
I think it'll be interesting to see, though, where he ends up going in the draft. Because at one point, he was in the debate for, it was him, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Quinn Johnson. Who do you have number one, going into the season? And Jordan Addison was up there as well.
Yeah.
But now,
I don't think it's going to hurt
he's
too
gonna
much.
go in the
It's
first round, honestly.
not like he murdered anybody or anything. So I don't know if it's going to
nothing like that. But
If he did, Jess, message Jess.
That's one way to end your collegiate career.
It went out with a bang. So with that, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap this podcast up here. It was, we'll hopefully have a good matchup. Georgia TCU next week. We'll see if Michigan and Rutgers find their way into there and win that game as well. But yeah, it should be a good one. We'll be back to talk to you next week about that. Until next time, guys. Bye.